I get nervous thinking about the Arizona Cardinals visiting the 49ers. I'll go back to that COVID year. They had the opener, smoky Levi Stadium, no fans there, and Arizona beat him. Josh Rosen beat the 49ers.
yeah.
He hardly beat anybody. He beat them at Levi's, and then last year, of course, Arizona prevailed. So what do we have in store for us this week? With more on that, nice enough to join us, as he does every week, NBC Authentic 49er analyst. He's the host of the Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends pod. Rod Brooks with us. Rod, I got to warn you, we have the America's #1 Eagles fan is back with us this week.
Oh, the hater from West Philly is back, huh?
Hey, man. Arrowhead and
Andy Reid, we all put him over our knee and just spanked him last week. Man. We're feeling good in Philly right now. Feeling
Man,
good.
y'all just ran the tush push like a dozen times. Y'all ain't about that.
Illegally, too. Illegally. That's all we got with our offense, right? That's it. Just a tush push.
But you know what, though? The best mic'd up we heard all week long was your boy Jalen Hurts telling Chris Jones, and I'll paraphrase, to keep it quiet. We win in the game.
Right.
You go and take that crybaby and somewhere else. I'm like,
check the
you know what?
scoreboard, big fella. Yep.
Man is right.
Rod, if you were to give the 49ers a health grade going into this week, the grade across the board, what kind of grade do they get this week? I'm just trying to think of new ways to talk about all the injuries each week.
Okay, well, here's the thing, and I might have said it last week. I don't know if it's ironic in the true sense definition of the word, but the fact that Christian McCaffrey is their healthiest frontline offensive player, you take that and you run with it. So, okay, so that's an A. Brock Purdy is questionable. He practiced in a limited fashion all 3 times this week, but Kyle Shanahan just said chances are he's not going to start on Sunday. I'll take the chances are out of that statement. He's not going to start on Sunday. So it's just going to be a matter of whether he's going to be the backup Purdy or the emergency quarterback. So he is on track to start next Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're still out a long ways on Ayuk and on Kittle, and that's a problem right now because Juwan Jennings hurt himself this week in practice, and he is questionable. So you don't know if he's going to play and take advantage of an Arizona Cardinals secondary that has a lot of injuries on it. And what's the other injury? Oh, that's right. Connor Colby came in last week at left guard, and immediately he made a difference at that position, and the offensive line had its best game of this very short season. Connor Colby hurt his groin yesterday, so he's questionable. So I say all that to say, what is it? Come say, come saw. Some good, some bad.
Yeah.
Hey, Rod, we talked about Brock Purdy. It looks like he's out this week. Have you seen enough from Mac Jones to be comfortable with him as the starting quarterback if Brock, can't go for a few weeks?
Yeah. I mean, listen, put aside what I think. It just validated what Kyle Shanahan already thought of Mac Jones, that he could go into a game and listen, the Saints aren't the Cardinals. Okay. This is a good Cardinal team, strong up front, unlike the Saints who have some issues. But for Mac Jones on the road to go into New Orleans starts stacking the box immediately because they say, of course, we are not going to let Christian McCaffrey run all over us. And if Mac Jones hits us, then Mac Jones hits us. So what does Mac Jones do? Looking at those stack boxes, not having the running game in full throat for the Niners with Christian McCaffrey back there, you use McCaffrey as a wide receiver out of necessity. And how do you beat those stack boxes? You throw the ball 39 times for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. So it validated what Kyle Shanahan already knew, and it was a surprise to me, and I'm sure it was a surprise to you and your listeners and a lot of people out there that Mac Jones could be in full control and command of what the Niners like to do offensively, and nothing changed. The only thing that changed was the fact that you don't have Mac Jones as a guy who's a mobile guy in the pocket. Those 3 sacks are on him, but he was actually able to move around in the pocket and buy some time and create some space. So am I comfortable with Mac Jones this weekend going up against a better team, a better defense in Arizona? Absolutely, I am. And I think he's going to have the benefits of this Niner run game, which I think is one or two big plays away from really getting cranked up. I think he's going to have the benefit, Kyle Shanahan, or I should say Mac Jones, of a fully healthy and fully engaged Niners run game.
Catching up with Rod Brooks as we do Fridays here, Drive Guys, as well as Mac Jones played. Rod, what would you think Kyle Shanahan would like to see him do a little better this weekend going forward if he plays it?
Get rid of the ball, dog.
Yeah. Get it out. Yeah.
Stop holding on to the ball, bro. That's it. Really. There's no such thing as perfection, but he did as well as you could possibly do in that game. So yeah, just get rid of the ball. If he doesn't hold on to the ball, you don't have the turnover. You don't have the sacks. But again, it's going to be much more difficult just because this is a good Arizona team. And, for me, everybody's going to focus rightly on the Niners offense and what the Niners need to do to keep Kyler Murray from hitting them as he did last year and as he's done over the last few years. I'm sure we'll get into that. But to me, the big issue for the Niners coming up, and that's why I think this Connor Colby injury at left guard and him being questionable, that's why I think it's kind of a big deal, is that this Niner offensive line, which a lot of people thought was either a question mark or a black mark on this team, this Niner offensive line held up against the Seattle team that's puts pressure on everybody. And they go from that game to being the better unit out of the two between them and the Saints defensive line. They showed and proved they had, high numbers and A's all across the board at every offensive line position. But this Arizona squad is a completely and totally different story. They spent a lot of capital on getting that defensive line improved. That's why they have Josh Sweat. That's why they have Dalvin Tomlinson. That's why Calais Campbell is still there. And yeah, he might be old man River, but Calais Campbell can still give you some action. So this to me, if this Niner offensive line is getting better and stacking good performance on good performance, if they have another good performance this week, that makes it easier for Mac Jones. You get the run game going, and I think that'll neutralize a lot of what Arizona wants to do, and it keeps the ball away from Kyler Murray.
Hey, Rod, earlier I was saying the defense, I think this Niners team, when it's all said and done, talking about this season, their defense will be what wins them games.
Yes.
And I understand it's a young group. How do you think they've looked through the first couple of weeks?
Oh, man, I think they've looked outstanding. And, let's keep it a buck. Their defense won them the last two games, making those plays at the end, closing it out with Bosa, closing it out with Huff. I thought the biggest what if for the Niners going into the season was, how long was it going to take for this defense to gel? And because you look at it, you have all pros, future Hall of Famers on three levels of defense. Okay. You got Lenore in the back. He's a Pro Bowler, could play at an all pro level this year and be an all pro. Obviously, Fred Warner, defensive player of the year type player, easily going down as one of the greatest linebackers in Niner history. Think about that for a second. Yeah. And the guy who, if he keeps going, is going to play at a Hall of Fame level. Clearly, he's an all-pro. And obviously, we know how good Bosa is, defensive player of the year, all-pro. So you got those guys at all three levels of your defense. How long would it take for the rookie guys like Stout and Siegel and Collins and Williams and West? How long would it take for them to get up to speed? After 2 weeks, it looks like they've come up to speed pretty well. And then you have young guys like D. Winters, who's playing out of his mind this year. Yetur Gross-Matos, who is a big part of them getting better than Niners at the defensive line position. Davis and Renardo Green and Lucas and Jordan and Elliott. So the fact that Niners have, the Niners are, I think, the third youngest defense in all of the National Football League. I'll look at my notes here and see if I have that correct. For all of these young guys to fit in and find their place and play well and supplement the excellent play you're getting from Bosa and Warner in particular, I'm surprised that it has happened as quickly as it has over the last 2 weeks. But again, this Arizona squad is a completely different story. one missed gap assignment, one guy not paying attention, one guy not setting the edge, and next thing you know, Kyler Murray's hit you for a read option for a touchdown, like you did at the beginning of the game in Levi's last year. And I still think you're going to see some ups and downs just because of the nature of the beast, having all of these young guys. But after 2 weeks, I mean, I think it's an absolute net positive that you have all of these young players playing at a high level and keeping it close and keeping it tight. So the big boys like Bosa and Warner and Huff can come in and finish it off and win the game for you.
That said, Rod, and we're, of course, catching up with Rod Brooks. I know it's been reported that at times Robert Saleh last week was tinkering with kind of a 4-2-5 alignment. Yeah. So my question is, to what extent is Robert Saleh still kind of tinkering and figuring out what exactly he has with these young defenders?
Hey, man, he is he's a psychopath. he's a true, and that's my favorite kind of defensive coordinator. I like my defensive coordinator to be sitting in the dark room watching film, rocking back and forth like a crazy person going, yeah, this is because you'll see all sorts of stuff. You know, he'll mug the line of scrimmage with a bunch of guys, and then he'll have Fred Warner drop out and then go into coverage and make a big play. Or, you know, he's not the kind, this is not to speak ill of the two previous Niner defensive coordinators. But he's not the type of guy, Saleh, to just have four guys rush the passer and then you just hope everybody on the back end can cover. He's going to throw a lot of things out there. And I think as he gets more and more comfortable with, you know, as I mentioned, all the young guys getting more and more comfortable, you're going to see more and more exotic stuff. And that's why I'm excited to see what he has in store for Kyler Murray. I think, you know, at its base, it's going to be a lot of zone, keep everything in front of you. But I do think that, you know, the Niner defenses of the last couple of years where it was sort of just, it was reactive and not proactive. This defense on Sunday is going to be very proactive in making sure that Kyler Murray is very uncomfortable.
I was going to ask you regarding Kyler Murray and the defensive game plan against the Cardinals. Is he at the top? And when I say at the top, I mean number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Does anybody else scare you on this Arizona offense?
Oh yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, it's like here's what I'm afraid of, and you kind of see it being set up. They're not going to mess with Diamador Lenore. But they are going to mess with, and this is what teams have done. And naturally, that's what you're supposed to do. You go at the guy opposite the stud corner. And so Renardo Green and Marvin Harrison, I think that's going to be an issue. And, you know, there were some questions this week, you know, amongst the Arizona media and talking to Harrison and talking to Kyler Murray, you know, asking him, well, hey, why haven't you guys really gotten on track and had a lot of success? And Marvin Harrison is like, hey, man, we win a football game, so it doesn't matter. But you know full well that Marvin Harrison Jr., who only has, I believe, 7 catches, only 1 touchdown, you know they want to get him going, and this would be the time to do it. James Conner is still a very, very, very good running back, although the Cardinals not a very good run blocking team, very good pass blocking team. They protect Murray very well, and that's going to be the chess match between the Niners defense and Arizona's offense, but they don't run block all that well. So to me, this is going to be a game, I think, where they're going to try to get Harrison Jr. involved early and often. And, you know, man, you know this from Philadelphia, them Harrison cats, you know, hey, man.
We about that life, man.
I'm just saying, you might want to get young fella the ball before you have problems. You know,
you don't want to jump the gun. Yeah.
Oh, come on, man.
Hey, say less. Say less.
How likely is Arizona to load the box like the Saints tried to do last week?
Oh, I think you 100% do that to start. And you know, again, this is, you know, we should, and I'm gonna put myself in this category. We need to put some respect on Mac Jones's name. You know, that was his 50th start last week. So he's been through it before. You know, he's not some scrub. Yes, he's back up now, but he's not some scrub. He's not terrible. So but I do think if you're the Cardinals, your biggest threat is always going to be, and I would say this even if Brock Purdy were healthy, your biggest threat on that Niner offense is always Christian McCaffrey. Always. So the the impetus to stop McCaffrey and to keep him from either getting going or hurting you with a big run, that is at the forefront of your mind, and it's at the back of your mind, and everything else sort of fits in between that. So if you're the Cardinals, especially again, as I mentioned, they put in a lot of effort to rebuild their front, to rebuild their defensive line. It might not be crazy stacking the box, but they're just bringing that safety down and daring you to either throw over the top of it or run into it. But I think they feel like with their front seven, they should be able to keep the Niners from running the way that they want to. But I think we can all agree, the McCaffrey we saw in week 1 and the McCaffrey we saw last week, you could see that he's getting close.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that he's not that far away from having one of those breakout games. And if we can see it, the Cardinals can see it. And they want to make sure that it doesn't happen against them. Let that be Jacksonville's problem next week.
Got our guy Rod Brooks joining us. Rod, I want to go back to the quarterback situation, because one thing that's frustrating me about sports talk right now is, in my opinion, this is just Drape's opinion here. You ain't got to co-sign this if you don't want. We are so quick to anoint or denigrate a quarterback, meaning stamp him as good or, this guy's a bust. I'm talking about my guy J.J. McCarthy out there in Minnesota. What's happening with Caleb Williams? Mac Jones when he left New England. People were talking about it. Didn't stick in Jacks. Like, what do you make of the quarterback position, and why is it taking certain guys so long to actually do and be who we thought they were going to be coming into the league?
Well, I think first and foremost, none of us really know how to evaluate a quarterback. And you notice I didn't say, none of us in the media, none of us as fans, media, fans, and the NFL. We have no idea how to evaluate a quarterback. In a lot of these situations, these guys are drafted high, and they're drafted high by what? By bad teams that have been bad for a long time, that have been badly coached, that have been badly run. And if there's one thing that we should all know, is that a quarterback has to be not necessarily in the right system, but the environment has to be the right environment where there's, this is going to sound all kind of goofy, but where there's nurturing, where there's encouragement, where there's patience, all the stuff that none of us as fans and media and people within the league, coaches especially, because their jobs are on a year to year, if not game to game basis. All of that stuff you need to make sure that a quarterback is comfortable and can flourish. Also, you need talent around him as well. All of that stuff, all of that grace, if you will, is never, ever, ever given. And I think because, the last 50 years of football becoming the biggest thing in this country, and the quarterback being the most scrutinized profession in this country, not to get into politics because I don't want to do that, but we scrutinize quarterbacks more than we scrutinize politicians. We hyper focus on the play. We all think we know it. We all think we could do it. All of us have high definition televisions. Now we all have access to all 22 film, and everybody in America who watched Tua Tagovailoa throw that interception last night see the exact same thing at the exact same time. How could he not see him?
Right.
Now, it's a legitimate question. I don't know how we couldn't see him, but my point is that all of us over the last 50 years think we know what makes a good quarterback, when it's not just talent and it's not just arm strength. It's so many things, and it's so nuanced. And if there's one thing we don't have time for, especially when it comes to sports talk, Drapes, we ain't got time for nuance, do we?
Right.
No,
It's all binary. You either good or you ain't.
Right.
Yeah. To your point, Kyle, JJ McCarthy, he's the worst ever and he's the best ever in the same game.
In the same game,
in his
right?
first game. In his first game.
Wasn't he offensive player of the week last week?
Was he really?
I think he was. Like when they beat the Bears, I believe he was named offensive player of the week, and then obviously it didn't. I mean, he went from sugar to excrement,
right,
in the span of a week.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I asked Drew Bledsoe once, what is the thing about quarterback that most of us never realize? And he said, you have to make so many decisions long before the ball's even snapped. He said, there's so much you got to look at and decide before you even snap the ball. That said, Rod, can't we agree that if we're being fair here and honest at the professional level, Arizona needs a little more from Kyler Murray than they've gotten the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, they do. But when you look at quarterback play around the league, you see Murray and you go, is there better? Yes. Is there worse? Significantly. He's somewhere in the middle, and this is when you get into conversations about, is he a franchise quarterback? Is he a winner? All of that stuff where, I think those terms are thrown out there and they're purposely vague so you can ascribe anything you want to those very nebulous terms. The thing is that he's a smaller guy and he's prone to, if a team actually has a good defense and a good defensive plan, you can box him in and you can shut him down. But what he does have is that he has athleticism. He's quick. He can get to spaces and he can run away from you. He can run away from you too. Could he be better as far as a drop back passer? Absolutely. Which is why they got Harrison Jr. Because what makes a quarterback a lot better than a guy who can run down the field and catch any ball basically that you throw to him? That's why I think they're going to try to find a way to really get Harrison involved early and often this Sunday. But I mean, listen, just for the purposes of this conversation and the most important game coming up, which is on Sunday, Kyler Murray been giving the Niners problems. And until proven otherwise, if you're Kyler Murray, you're feeling real confident about being able to go into Levi's, a place that you've won before, albeit against a different defense, coordinated by a different guy, and definitely with different personnel on it, and has a different mindset. But if you're Murray, you're confident you can go in there, and that after a while, his ability and the team's ability is going to be able to keep them close. And if it's close, they'll take that any day of the week.
Hey, Rod, my last question for you right here, and I said this during our last segment here with Whitey. When you look at this Niners schedule, so much was made about how easy it is. By me, not only me, but as I'm looking at it, is this schedule looking a little more difficult than previously thought coming in, you think? And I ask you that, and I ask that because
the stretch
the stretch, to me, I think the Texans will be a tougher game. The Giants, even though they're 0-2, this is on the road out there on the East Coast. I mean, could this be a more difficult schedule? Colts, how about the Colts and the way they're playing? Yeah. Could it be a little more difficult, or should they still run through this thing?
I think schedules are as difficult as you make them. If you play down to your opponent, all of a sudden you're making that game. You're making that game more difficult. You also don't know what a team is going to look like on a week-to-week basis. I mean, before we saw Mac Jones do his thing last week, there were many people, and I understand it, who thought because the Saints played a representative game against the Arizona Cardinals in week 2, thought, okay, Niners going into that game with a backup quarterback and some other injuries. Hey, man, the Saints could win that game. And credit to the Saints, it was a much more competitive game than a lot of people thought that it would be. But the better team, the more talented team, the Niners, especially with what they brought out there defensively, ended up winning the game. So I say all that to say this. You just don't know what you're going to look like on a week-to-week basis. And I don't think you know what the opponent is going to look like on a week-to-week basis. I will say this, though. This is why the Niners' schedule is easier. And I think about Seattle last week. Okay, so they play the Niners week 1. Where does Seattle go week 2? They go all the way to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Where do the Niners go? Right? They go play the Saints. Now, I know Seattle's going to play the Saints because it's, NFC West versus NFC South and NFC West versus AFC South. But I'm just talking about that's a much more difficult proposition for Seattle than it was for the Niners. I think your Eagles have the Rams this weekend, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Tough schedule.
Yeah, like the Niners are going to have to deal with the Eagles. Why? Because the Eagles and the Rams are playing a first-place schedule. The Niners playing a last-place schedule. Who are they going to have to go deal with? You mentioned the Giants. So you add in the NFC South and the AFC South. Both of those divisions, you tried to say in English, are not as rough and tumble as, let's say, the NFC North or even the NFC West in comparison, but those are thought of as weaker divisions. And you play other fourth-place teams that finish at the bottom of their division. compared to what the Eagles have to deal with, compared to what the Rams have to deal with, and other teams that have first place schedules, the Niners schedule is significantly easier than those. But you have to take advantage of it.
Rod Brooks, thank you, Rod. As always, we appreciate it. We'll see you on TV. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the game.
All right, fellas, y'all be good.
All right, my man.
Yeah,
All right,
thank
man.
you.
Be good now.
Yeah, Rod Brooks. We got a lot more football